Okay, I think we have quorum. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. It is December the 13th. That's crazy. And it is our December monthly meeting. The recording is started. Perfect. So first I'd like to start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Arapaho, Ute, and Cheyenne tribes, the traditional custodians of the land on which the Police Oversight Panel and Boulder Police Department operate, and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We'd like to just welcome the public and any members of the press that are with us this evening. And of course, all the panel members that are here. Thank you everyone for being here. If there are members of the public that have questions, we ask that you use the Q&A during the meeting for those questions. And we will answer small queries in the Q&As, but save bigger queries on the panel business or policy for public comment, please. And just to confirm, Selena is going to be, is that who we have answering the Q&As or?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Selena. All right. And if you do have any complaints regarding Boulder, any interactions you may have had with Boulder Police Department, you can submit a complaint through our website, which is bouldercolorado.gov/services/police-oversight, or via our email, which is policeoversightpanel@bouldercolorado.gov. And then, of course, if you do miss some or any meetings, those are all posted to our website as well. All right, so our agenda today is we will have approval of our November minutes, committee updates, discussion about trainings, discussion about the NACOL conference that happened last month. This was a request from a panelist to discuss an NAACP letter. We'll discuss the meeting with the chief and then the IPM report. Sherry will give her report, and we will select, we'll also discuss the panel recruitment and in-person meetings. It's not on the agenda. Sherry, we do have cases to vote on today, correct? The ones who emailed us? No? Okay, so we don't have any cases to vote on. So we're going to skip that agenda item, and then we'll also discuss the Naropa Community Counseling MOU, and then we have time for public comment.
I expect there will be a lot of cases to vote on next month.
Next month. Got it. Got it. Okay. Oh, that's okay. All right. So first, just our first item is approval of our November meeting minutes. Do we have a motion for approval? Perfect. I see you, Chico and AB. Thank you. We'll take a first and a second. All right. And so we will now vote for approval of our November meeting minutes. Show of hands or say aye, whichever way you prefer. Awesome. Perfect. And that is quorum. Thank you, everyone. All right. So now it's time for our committee updates. Who would like to start? Community engagement. Legacy. Chico, do you have anything for us today?
Yes, we had our meeting on the 11th of last month, 30th of last month. I'm forgetting dates now. So essentially, we're just picking up on where we left off. It's been a while, and we will continue with what we had started. And I think what was agreed on is we continue engaging the BPD with what the initial topic that we want to look at is their interaction with youth, and we'll be guided by the data that we get in terms of how far back can we investigate and what kind of investigations will go on or reviews that we can look at, and in what format we'll present the reports. So it's something that we'll be pursuing in the coming year. This being holidays, so coming year, it's next month. So that's what we'll be doing. The next meeting will be January to the 25th. So I presume that we may report, or we may look at some more things at that meeting with a view of reporting more in the February meeting. That's all.
Chica?
Yeah.
Were you able to locate that data set? Or should I
No.
reach out to BPD?
I think you should reach out. I wasn't able to find anything.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Wonderful. And for governance, we did not have a meeting this last month, but we anticipate to have one here this next month. So thank you. All right, and let's talk.
Sorry, was there a meeting with the communications committee this month?
I don't think anybody showed up for that one.
Only city staff showed up.
Is that something we need to discuss for the next meeting? Or I know we were talking about, you know, trying to have 2 co-chairs for that committee, and I know Milan, you had volunteered.
Yeah, and
Do
I
you still
missed. I did volunteer and I missed that meeting for different reasons, and I didn't hear from anyone else. So if I imagine that nobody else showed up.
Should we still recruit for co-chair for that committee?
I think so. I think it would be good. It would be good if at this point it feels like I'm the only one on the committee, so that would be very useful to have some other people in it.
I'm sorry, I was planning to attend, but I thought that we had canceled. We got a bunch of notes that events were canceled, and maybe I was mistaken, but I assumed that was canceled. So that's why I didn't show up. But so maybe that, did we reschedule a couple of things since various like updates in the calendar came in?
I just know it was moved once, but I also know that that committee will be involved in the website redesign, and that will be the biggest project for 2024 for that committee, at least early on. So whatever's in the past is in the past, but you know, moving forward, we're going to need a team effort on the website redesign, and so that committee is going to be leading or spearheading that, from what I understand.
I do want to say I just talked with communication staff for the city, and because of this accessibility issue that we've talked about that's mandated by state law in effective in July, I think it's anticipated that a lot of websites get revamped and relooked at to make sure that they are in compliance with that accessibility requirement. So I think that particular project might have a little bit of a pause on it as the city obtains guidance from the state and figures out exactly what their whole plan is for websites and communication because of that accessibility piece.
Sounds like that gives us time to figure it out, is a reframe.
Yes, but I mean, I do think that working on figuring out what the communication and engagement plan is for 2024 outside of the website is a really important component for this panel.
I'll definitely try to make that next meeting, Milan, to be there to support you.
Great, thank you.
When is the next meeting, Malene? Is it Malene? Milan?
It's on Thursdays, I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think that they also did just send out an agenda, right? We just got an agenda for 2024.
Right.
Yeah,
that
I
would-
just, yeah, sorry guys. I just sent that out, I think yesterday. I think the
Perfect.
next one that's coming up for 2024, based on what we had previously, is January 4th from 6:30 to 7:30.
Thank you so much, Selena.
And I'd like to just stress, with any of these subcommittee meetings, you know, if the days don't work for people, especially as we're rounding in on the holidays, you know, feel free to, you know, start the conversation of whether there's a different day that we should try to have it.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of these meeting times were set with people who are no longer here. So if 2024 is a good time to redo the schedule and make it so it aligns with everyone's needs and meets, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I just want to invite new panelists to maybe come to the next meeting and see if that's something that they would like to participate in. We can define what we are doing and how we're doing it. So it might be a good time for everyone to rethink what committees they're in.
Yes, wonderful. All right, any other items on committees or committee updates? Wonderful, thanks everyone. Trainings. I think. Sherry?
Yeah. So I wanted to just let people know that any input on trainings that you want to see, we should start figuring out what the trainings are going to be for 2024. I also wanted to let everyone know that we are planning to have an all-day training for the new panel members on March 2nd of 2024. So once we get that training schedule all set, I anticipate or I expect to send it to current panelists for anyone who wants to attend either for like a duplicative training that you may have had, but you may have not been able to use it because of the moratorium and just a time gap, refresher, or something that you feel you maybe haven't had before. But that's expected that March 2nd is going to be a all-day training for the new panel members. But I'm going to invite any of you to attend if you feel like it would be helpful for you to attend one or more sessions that day.
Sherry, isn't the requirement that all panelists get trained every year?
We have been talking about this for new panelists.
I believe it should be
But-
all panelists.
Well,
That's what I thought as well. There's
Yeah.
some trainings that everybody needs to do every year. So that would be a good opportunity for all of
Yeah.
us to get together.
so I guess March 2nd, I will absolutely be sending it out to everyone. And I think then, Selena, we might need to make sure that we have a larger room than what we've previously looked at.
I guess I'm sure there's a list of trainings that go out for like the calendar year that will be sent out when you send that out, or will it go out for like 6 months?
So when I was initially thinking about training, my thoughts were that we would have some like shorter trainings, but more frequently. Like I thought maybe like 2 hours, like one Saturday a month until we were caught up on all of the trainings. And then this is an aspect that Farah has been brought into, and it was her idea to have this all-day training for new panelists. Her thought was that the new panelists would be able to start in or be selected and slated February. We have this training on March 2nd, and then by the time the next panel meeting happens, they have met the like classroom training requirements. So initially, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about this being training that we would have on a staggered basis, but this is going to be a really big chunk all at once. And we have not put together that training yet. So any ongoing training would be more along the lines of, what panel members want and needs that we identify, as opposed to those mandated trainings.
Is use of force included on that March 2nd training?
I have not worked on that as of yet. I'm actually meeting with Farah tomorrow morning, but I cannot imagine that it would not be in.
Okay, I would just say, in my experience, there are certain trainings that need to be provided like by the police department, by other folks, and use of force was, I think it was a full day or maybe a half day, but it was in person at their office out there on 55th. And so when we make decisions about some of these cases and we don't know the 5 scales of use of force, I would just really advocate for, it was a powerful training and it really relates to some of the stuff that we do.
And you think it was that long?
I know we got there like 9 o'clock and we left at like 2, and people were tired and crying
Hungry.
and everything else, and it was intense, but it was much needed for the stuff that we do.
Okay, so much more than just a primer.
Yeah, we saw takedowns. We got to see the little video game machine they used, and again, the 5 scales of when do we pull out, we go from green to yellow to orange, and yeah.
But you think 9 to 2 was the amount of time, approximately?
That sounds about right. Yeah, at least to noon, if not to 2. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is no way that amount of training on use of force would be done in a day where there are so many other required trainings that would happen. But it sounds like that was a very impactful training for you, Victor.
Michiko, you were there as well, right?
I wasn't, but I attended one with Joey. It was about the same couple of hours. So quite impactful, I must say. With what we do, one just has to go through it.
Well, I will then work with BPD to try to get that on the schedule then as soon as possible. I mean, as soon as possible for the new panelists and the schedule that we have.
Any other questions or comments on trainings?
So when are we going to see the schedule for the training for the year?
Like I said, we need to figure out, first of all, what are the trainings that we do on that March 2nd, and then figure out what other what other trainings we need to do to fill in the blanks. But ideally we would get that figured out sooner rather than later.
Jerry, for the ride-alongs, do we need to contact you, or how do we go about that? Or should we contact Sterling? Actually, Sterling, maybe.
I went through Bethany and she said that she's the person to go through at the police department. We can make sure that you have her email. It's been sent out, but she's the admin to the chief.
And if anybody doesn't feel comfortable going with a random person, feel free to reach out to me and I can try to do what I can to get a uniform and go drive around.
Thank you.
And just also, Bethany had told me that if, people have other questions or concerns, that she's also available to try to answer questions about the police department.
Thank you. And I think, do you think you could add, I know you sent us the information for Bethany, but maybe we can add that somewhere to our SharePoint so people can access it. Thank you so much, Sherry. Awesome. Okay, so if there are no more questions on trainings, we can move on to the NACO conference. And Soledad, who, is she in participants? Yes, she's in participants, so if somebody could add her back as a panelist, please. And Milen, right? Those were the two that went to our conference this year. Along with Sherry. So if anybody has any takeaways or things they'd like to talk about in terms of like big learnings or things that they think are key to share with the panel, this is the time to share.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. My connection again is very unstable, so I apologize. That's why I'm off camera. But I'll just say I would have to. It was really an eye-opening moment for me to be there. It was really great. There was so many people talking about. It was a lot of representative from larger cities, and we were in Chicago, so Chicago was very well represented, and everybody was telling us how lucky we are to have Sherry as our monitor, and so that was but it really expanded my imagination as to what we can do here in Boulder. It opened me up to possibilities that I had not thought about or, didn't know existed. And it was really, really interesting. I would have to review my notes and maybe, we can write a summary of what we learned. But I think that if you have the opportunity to go next year, I would really recommend that you do. Because just chatting with people in the morning while we were having coffee and other cities and other issues that they have is really interesting, and it was pretty impactful for me to be there all day for several days and really thinking about our work as a panel and possibilities. So I don't know, Soledad, do you have additional things to say? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, so it was for me invaluable learning opportunity. Like really, it was eye-opening. It was very moving also to be in the same room with people that have been doing the work for so long and together with survivors and families of victims and getting to hear directly all the perspectives and experiences. It was truly moving, and I think that we talked a lot. Well, we were together with Milan the whole time, but I would talk a lot about like how personally for me, energizing this was, because it was really putting things in perspective and understanding that while we all share like a common grounds or goals, also our realities as a small city are a little bit different. So at certain point, everything seems so big for us and what we deal with. But at the same time, being a small community, the impact of the things that are happening are different also. So definitely, I think there were points that I would love to learn more about. We split in a few, there were presentations from like taser companies. That was, I didn't go to that one, Milan attended that one. And you see things from different perspectives. And so it gives you a different understanding of the issue and the community around civilian oversight. So super grateful for the opportunity of going to. So I encourage anyone that wants to go next year to really do so.
If I may, this was the first time that I went to NACOL in a role outside of solely working in investigations. So it was really interesting to come with a different perspective. But some of my takeaways were the enforcement about the idea of how important transparency is. And along with that, the community engagement for both, the monitor's position and for, the panel. I also attended a session on data and benchmarking that I found really interesting in terms of trying to set goals and make sure that the goals are trackable. It's too bad we don't have a data scientist on staff, as some organizations do. And also, I took away the importance of ensuring that the work that we do, as much as possible, can be published so for the public to access. And then also attended. This was woven throughout the conference, but there was one session, I think maybe on. I can't remember if it was the last day or one of the last days, but really drove home the point how important it is to ensure that the oversight does remain in a collaborative mindset with the police department. And there were several people who spoke on, that the most successful oversight programs are those where it is not overly adversarial with the police department that they're overseeing. And in that vein, I had some conversations with some other oversight professionals where they shared some horror stories, basically, where their chief of police basically completely disregards any recommendations that they give. So I felt like we are ahead of the curve on some of those issues. At least now we are. So those were some of the takeaways that I had from the conference. Additionally, just talking about NACOL, we in the ordinance adopted the code of ethics, and Boulder is now on the NACOL website as having adopted the code of ethics. There's a downloadable version that I put in the SharePoint drive today, but it's from 2015. So Boulder is not actually identified on that, even though we are on their website. But I encourage people to take a look at it and read it. There's a lot of thoughtfulness in the NACOL Code of Ethics, and those are what we are bound by according to the ordinance that was passed in October.
It's in the NACOL folder in the SharePoint.
It's in the meetings, the general meetings for the December meeting folder.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I would just like to add that I discovered that there is a certification that you can receive from NACOL. You can go to the website and there are some required readings that are pretty interesting, not super well, some are dense, some are not that bad. It takes like probably a year to 2 years to finally get certified, but I think I found super interesting the readings and the material that are proposed to be revised. So if you want to take a look at that in their website, there is a link to the certification. I can look it up. I don't know, I can put it in the title. I can send an email with the link. But at least like reviewing those materials is very enlightening. So if you want to find cool, like good information on different topics, that suggested reading list is very useful. So I'm going to look it up and send it in an email.
Perfect. Thank you, Soledad. It won't let me create a folder, so I'm not sure if it's because I don't have ownership for SharePoint, but if we can just get a folder created in the NACO conference materials folder for 2023, then that way Soledad can add what she has. We can add that off some resource you have, and then any other notes that from either Mainland or Soledad. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Okay, any other questions? Does anybody have any questions for either anybody or?
I just say I'm interested to see those notes. I found this in other agencies where someone goes off to a conference, they get the specialized knowledge, and they come back to the team, and then they just say the food was great, or XYZ. So how can you share that knowledge that you got with the team is what I'm curious for.
I have 100 of pages of notes that I can make sure you see. But maybe that will be a way, and also maybe in one of the trainings that we have, because it's very specific things. So whatever you think is best for the group. But we do have a bunch of notes, and I can definitely share those.
Thank you, Soledad.
Yeah, same for me. I don't know if I have 100 pages, but I have quite a few.
Awesome.
I definitely noticed both of you taking notes in the sessions we were in together.
Excellent. All right, if there's no other comments or questions, we can move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Soledad. Okay, Milen, this is your request. Would you like to lead it up?
Is that the NAACP?
Yep.
If you're talking, we can't hear you. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. My connection is very unstable, so I apologize. I might take this on the phone if we continue to have problems. But yeah, thank you, Hadassah. I wanted for us to discuss the statement that's still on the Boulder Police Oversight Panel website about it's a statement with respect to the Boulder County NAACP's request to review previously closed cases dated from October 22, 2021. I think this was a little bit of there was a lot of removed, that we don't need to have this any longer on the website. And I just wanted to open the conversation about that. Why should we keep it or can we remove it? It is, it was a request from the NAACP at the time to review past cases. And so, yeah, I just wanted for us to discuss how long we keep this type of letters from the panel on the website. The strongest supporters for this panel. They were very much involved in us creating this panel. They are representing one of the historically excluded community in Boulder, and I just would like to mend what needs mending with them. I'll stop here if anybody has any additional comment. Maybe Madeline. Or...
Some of what you said got cut out. So I don't. Yeah, so if you could kind of repeat or just do just a overview of what how you see, the perspective, so we can get the full understanding of what it is we need to be discussing and considering.
I'm sorry. So Madeline, if I get cut off again, I'll leave this and join with on my phone.
Okay. We got some of it. We just didn't get, I think, the real bulk of what we needed to hear is what got cut out. And so, yeah, if you could just, sorry, but
and if we shut off our videos, it will improve her bandwidth while she's speaking. So,
well, I think it's me.
Okay, go for it now.
I don't see
this has been an issue. I'm off camera, Madeline.
Okay.
This has been an issue.
You're cutting off again, Milan. So we cannot hear you right now.
Would it be right if she typed it in the chat and one of us could read it off?
I think she disconnected and she might get back, so maybe we can turn off our cameras on. We need to keep an eye on her so she can join as a panelist, I think.
While we're waiting, is anyone who's kind of familiar with the background and history here able to give like a factual background, just so we know the issue that we're discussing, maybe while we're waiting for Milan? Maybe we don't have anyone that was around.
If you read the letter, it's pretty, I reread it earlier today and it hits all the points, left, right, uppercut. It's a real play-by-play in there of why we felt we were called out, the legal implications of the limits of what we could do, and the idea that we were citizen volunteers being pulled in one direction. It was really a way for us to establish our independence as we were trying to establish ourselves as well. I
Victor,
would say, oh, sorry.
Sorry, what was the original call out? What was, I can see some details in here. There's reference to it, but like what happened to make this statement necessary?
There was a complaint and it wasn't submitted in the complaint process. They decided to meet on the side. City of Boulder Police and NAACP had a side meeting, didn't file a complaint, didn't tell us about it. And then 10 minutes before our meeting, this issue was brought up. And so it didn't go through the official process. We weren't able to view it in an official way. And that's just kind of where it started there. And so again, there's limits to what we can do officially. And that fell out of that. And it was compounded by the way that they didn't follow the protocol. Hadassah, is that how it's the genesis?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and we were ultimately getting pressure to do something that is not within our purview, that is not within our abilities to do. And that was the response. It was a unanimous vote by the panelists at that time. And that's where we are. And I think one thing that is important to remember is transparency and removing statements, especially when there are articles that are written about or, in reference to. I think that that's really key to maintain, in terms of what was alluded to, what was being discussed, and ultimately what was decided in the feelings of the panel at the time.
Here's what I know. Here's what I think. And here's what I think I know. It's been a while since that happened. During that time, there were some things that happened not so positive in terms of how perspectives and how things were viewed, and all kinds of what I considered it was strife. And looking back, if we all had an opportunity to do it differently, would we? I would say, yeah, probably. And so I guess my question would be, what does it cost? Taking a look at it, is being there, remaining there, more harm than good? Does it make a difference, really? And would it be a good thing to remove it, considering this is a whole new group? We got a whole new air about us and our mission and how we proceed going forward. I just see things in a lot more positive vein than anything I heard. And I just heard a lot then. I wasn't as involved then as I am now. But so, we can weigh it both sides. How hard is it? What'll happen? Will egos get smashed? Or will, what's the best thing? What's the best outcome for removing it? Those are my questions. And what good does it do to stay there? And can we chuck it up to a learning experience and, let's move forward and create a win-win in some way, whatever that takes. Those are my thoughts and my feelings. And not to oversimplify, I just think there are more important things that could consume our time, So let's do what needs to be done and move forward. Thank you for listening.
Can we try now if Milan can go to the thick of what Milan was trying to share, so we don't miss that.
Yes.
Maybe Milan, if you can try again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it should work. Thank you. Yeah. What I think this brings is it brings like a conflict between the panel and the NAACP. The NAACP is highly involved in the creation of this very panel. It's historically it's kind of their work with other community members, obviously, and the city, but I think that this is a sore spot for the people that we're trying to represent with this panel. And I'm wondering if we could archive it now, because the message of the panel has been given and received. And what it shows by being still on the website is that there is some tension still between the two. And I think we need to put this behind us I think we need to move forward. And as Madeline was just saying, we're kind of a brand new panel. We have a new ordinance, we have a new, and so I would say I would like to see this being archived and start on new ground with this community organization that is has been a key player in who we are. And so that's and I know it's a sore spot for them right now. I mean, right now it has been a sore spot for the last 2 years.
So is this a matter that we need to take to a vote whether to retain or to remove, or we need some more time to reflect?
I mean, that for me, I don't know. It's for us to decide how we want to go about this. I just wanted to bring this topic, and I want us to reflect on it and yes, make a decision together at some point. So it's how you see it, Chico.
Can we just vote right now?
I think
don't-
Lizzie has a question.
Go ahead.
Be done with it?
Yeah, thanks. I'm just wondering, I totally appreciate and agree with, you know, whatever steps we can take to kind of mend relationships and move forward positively. I'm completely on board with that. I wonder if we can discuss options for the best way to do that, other than just taking it down and sort of having it disappear. Maybe we can add a statement from 2023, like a, you know, sort of an addendum at the top that says something about how we view the statement now and our, you know, sort of path forward. Or we replace it with a statement that recognizes that it was there, and now, you know, here's our stance moving forward, just to prevent kind of having it disappear and having that sort of be confusing or maybe look like a lack of transparency, because this page seems designed to be kind of a log of public statements. It's a public statement, it's been made, it feels a little weird to just disappear it. And maybe we can also talk about other things we can do to kind of proactively mend the relationship. You know, can we meet with anyone who is involved and talk about it and ask what they would want, you know, from a response for us to sort of put this behind us. So I'm on board, but maybe we can talk options too.
Yeah. Archiving it, we're not, well, I don't think we're talking about it disappearing. Just thinking that we're talking about it not existing in its current state, but just move it to somewhere where it's not a relevant issue right now, is it? And I thought that our the relationship between the panel and the NAACP, I don't know it to be anything negative. I don't, but that doesn't mean it. That just means me, you know, because I don't, and I'm very active, and so I haven't heard anything that would make me wonder or would make me raise questions. How about you, Milene?
I mean, this part of the reason why I'm bringing it is because when I joined the panel, I had a conversation with Annette James, and she was wishing at the time that this was, you know, would be archived by now, and it hadn't, and it was definitely a sore subject for her at the time, because it doesn't reflect, you know, all the work that the NAACP has done, but rather a disagreement with the panel. And so I don't know, I'm just trying to think about, you know, as we are starting with a new, you know, new panel, new ordinance and all that. I don't want to disappear this. Obviously, it has to stay. It was a decision that was important at the time. I was just asking for it to be archived so that members of the public can access it and at any time, but not be so visible by now, because we're kind of done with that. We've turned the page, as you said, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, Hadassah, I want to hear what you think.
All right, let me just go to Victor. I see your hand, Victor. Thank you.
Thanks. In the past, we spent a lot of time on this. We extended a lot of olive branches that almost wilted because no one else picked it up. There were invites that were not accepted. There were times where we spent a lot of time on this in the past, and so that's just remembering some of this. We talk about this being a new panel, but just like with life, there's DNA that starts with that. And so the DNA in this panel is written within that letter. During that time, we were creating the bylaws, right? So part of that DNA is this was pulling us away from the bylaws work at that time, right? And so there are things from each group that will carry on to the next. And so, yes, I do agree that maybe archiving, could be a way to declutter the website as we look to the whole thing is going to be redone anyway, right? So maybe here's the historical archive of the panel since its inception. Here's a link. Here's everything that we've done. I definitely, agree with capturing the history of that. I don't know if there's specific wounds on the table. Hasn't been a representative to say, leaders here and leaders here talking, that hasn't happened. So if there's something for them to bring up, then hopefully that will go through official protocols, but I'm not aware of them as a whole entity saying we feel one way or another about the police oversight panel. It's almost like if our governance committee says, I feel one way about this. Well, that's just the governance committee. That they don't speak for the whole panel, right? So if there's some energy within their committees that may have an issue with the panel, I don't think that speaks for, the whole group. So if there's wounds, I don't know about it. And hopefully there's a way to have an official protocol. So, we don't get caught up in side things that can have, if needed, a one and done type conversation.
I mean, so I manage 2 websites from 2 different organizations, and I have archives of the last month newsletter. So, and it's a link. You go there, you find everything we said since forever. I think as a way of managing the website, it's healthy to set archives for at least a year. Because these are statements for 2021. These are the statements that the group created for 2022. My thought is that having this in the one page of statement that we have, and being that from October 2021, it seems pretty outdated to me. So beyond the conception, I think is outdated. Like I wouldn't have that on my website, in any website, as a manager of a website. So I don't think that we need to engage. I mean, we can 100%. I don't think we need to have a discussion about the issue itself. This is an updated website issue. If we keep it like in a folder and link here, but it's not like a front page statement, I think that's what we're looking for. And I think what Milan has, if I am understanding correctly, that is the thing. It's not, let's talk about this again or opening anything. It's just that it's so outdated. It's not representative of the conversation we're having today. So if someone comes into the website, we want them to see updated information.
Right.
So I think this is merely, it should be, in my opinion, merely like a website design decision. Let's create a tab with archives statements for the year, period. That will be my proposition, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, Soledad. Thank you, Victor. Yeah, I just jumping in. Sorry, Madeline. I wanted to let them talk first. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think archiving is a good way to not act like we're trying to hide anything or dismiss the sentiment at the time, but also have our website truly reflect what we're doing and what we're involved in now, right? And so ultimately maybe the question for the panel is, you know, when we're thinking about restructuring our website, do we want to move toward archiving things that are older? Do we still want to continue, you know? And I think we could also think about, do we want to submit a statement for this year for 2023 and see how we feel about that? And you know, as the communications team kind of starts to work with other communications and in updating our website, that would be something that we can think about. But it sounds like most of us are in favor of archiving things that aren't current from this year. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I said, let it die the death that it needs to die. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to take a vote, Victor? That seems like what we want to do.
Let's just vote and make it official.
Okay.
Yep.
So the question is, I guess, while, you know, we're updating our website, do we vote in favor or against? So we'll take the yays first for choosing to archive older statements that aren't from the current panelists. How do we want to? Current year? Yeah.
So moved.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay. So yays, please, for archiving previous statements. Wonderful. It looks like the yays have it. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Any other thoughts or questions related to
So just
that?
to clear it up for the newspaper folks, there's not a current beef with the panel and the NAACP. We're just cleaning up our website. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, Victor. I appreciate that statement because it's that's why we need to archive that, to just make sure that nobody thinks that we do have any bit with them. So thank you.
Right.
Just one thought for the group, if we archive everything from previous years, which I totally support, I don't think we'll have any statements on the page. So we may want to get something up there that represents this new group.
Okay. Would that be, so I think in previous, the last one on there is a co-chair statement, I believe. And so I guess the question for y'all as a larger group, do we want, would you want us to spearhead putting something together and having you guys vote to approve it? Or do we want to set a time for all of us to come together to create a statement for the panel?
The first thing you said.
The first one. Okay, we can start putting something together. And I think for me, it would mostly just, you know, what I'm thinking now would be just kind of an update of here's what we've had happen over the next year. Here's what we look forward to this next year. And then we can go from there and have anyone input things, and we'll have probably a vote next month on that, if that sounds good. Okay.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. All right, moving on down. Our next topic is meeting with the chief.
We are at 7:30.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for keeping an eye on the time. Thank you. Let's take our 5-minute bio breaks to be humans for a second. It will start at 33, so please come back at 38. Thank you so much.
Got it.
Excellent. As we welcome everyone back. Thank you so much. All right, so that's my agenda page. So our next topic is meeting with the chief, which was postponed this month. I guess, do we have a potential proposed new date? Sherry?
I was going to wait to hear from when the chief returns.
Okay.
But I reached out to her. I also shared some of the well wishes and get wells from panel members. And she said that she very much, looks forward to when she returns and being able to meet with people in person. But
Okay.
I'm not,
It's
I
been
don't have
in-
I don't have a timeline on that.
Okay, okay, stay tuned.
But I was hoping that because there is some time for to have a conversation about what panel members would like the format of that meeting to be, and just some ideas to make sure that it is meeting the needs of the panel members and worth everyone's time.
Yeah, so for panelists that have not attended one of these before, in the past, what we did do is we kind of got together and had, people said, here's some questions that maybe I have. And so we kind of, as a group, decided what some of our questions were going to be. I don't know. I think mainly it was because we were having to submit our questions before the meeting. And so I don't know that I saw that requirement for this last one, or that is an expectation moving forward from the chief. And so I think, yeah, how would we like this to go? Are there, if there are questions that we have, we can save those, or open discussion. Any comments or questions?
I'm curious, is it like just Q&A, or is there any sort of like typical like overview presentation, or like are there sort of standard things that we're supposed to cover in these meetings, or is it mostly just for the conversations?
Yeah, mostly just for conversation in terms of like past times. We had, questions that kind of arose for us out of specific case reviews, or specific dispositions from cases that we had reviewed. And so those were some of the burning topics that we've brought up before. Maybe some other like things that are community concerns, so maybe questions we've gotten from the community, or things like that have generally been our questions, or yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I would also say, just based on past meetings, we try to make it less formal. So we didn't order food in the past. Now we try to order food. Again, we're in the chief's office area, right? So, we're in the building off of 33rd. But the idea is that if you show up unprepared, then they'll set the agenda. And so there may be questions that you have personally, like, why do you use this ammunition versus that ammunition, right? But since we're also community representatives, there may be people in your community that say, for example, why are there so many bikes being stolen, and why is nothing being done about that? And we brought that up in the meeting, and Redfern explained, you have to register bikes and this and that. And so this is a chance to bring up community concerns, but also your own personal curiosities. And since we have limited time, the chief can talk for 15 minutes on anything. And so if we let her, the conversation will run away, and we'll miss the opportunity asking her, for example, spending an hour talking about ammunition, where we should really be spending this time talking about statistics or things that, other people, want to bring. Claudette?
Yeah, so So for background, we new-ish panelist. We haven't met her. We had only one meeting at the beginning of our term, and it was with that Redfern attended, and he was able to provide some answers, but not all of them because the chief wasn't there. And while I totally and absolutely respect how it was, I think we have an opportunity to create how we would like these meetings to be. At this point, I would really like to have a meeting to meet her and to see, like, learn what she thinks, who she is, and what is she looking forward for, or whatever is like planning for next year, and what are the things that we might kind of also, of course, bringing questions. I think that the meeting, that the one meeting that I attended, I guess we did have food. Pretty sure we did, and I think it was very structured, and we couldn't ask questions if they weren't sent in advance, which was kind of I guess I can't remember how we navigated that, but we couldn't ask questions at the moment, so we had to send the questions before. But since we haven't ever met and haven't ever been in one of those meetings, we didn't know what to ask. So I would love to take this opportunity to kind of create something that is what this panel would like to see. And for me personally, I would love to hear from her because I don't know her. And I don't know what her vision is in terms, not vision, of course, there's media and there's a lot of, kind of information out, but in regards to this panel, that's what I would love to know. Like, are you engaging in this oversight process? How you want to be in this relationship? Do you even want to be in this relationship? So that sort of thing, and that's what I would look for in the next opportunity that we have to meet.
I think what you just said was very key and would be a wonderful start.
So I would say that we can have all the above. So in my mind, speaking to what Victor is saying, so as not the agenda to be hijacked, so we can have a timed session where written comments are submitted or written questions are submitted, time session. After that, then we have an open forum where we can talk about anything. So I don't see a problem to having that structure of the best of all worlds.
Yep, Lizzie, go ahead. I see you.
I wonder if we can get some clarity on the like submitting questions ahead of time issue. It sounds like maybe at one point that was expected, but maybe we don't need to assume it's expected anymore. Do we know, Sherry, if that's part of the current expectation?
I was really surprised. I only learned, I think, was it the day before the meeting that was what happened in the past? So that was nothing that was asked, that we weren't, we weren't asked to like put together an agenda or submit questions in advance for this meeting. So I didn't know that that was the standard procedure until I think the co-chairs meeting the day before the meeting with the chief was scheduled to take place last week. But I think that some of the things that are being said are absolutely correct. What happened in the past is really helpful to know so that we can help design, it can help inform us as we design what's happening moving forward. So like, even the idea of having the meeting at the police department, if we do want people, if people are interested in taking a tour, then that makes the most sense. If that's not valuable for people at this time, especially if, people are trying to schedule like their ride-alongs and they feel like they've already had that information, then we can talk about having it at a more neutral location, like probably Penfield Tate, because that building seems to have the best video capacity. So that's, I am more than willing to, explore options. Like I said, I want it to be valuable for members of the panel.
Given that, maybe we could go for something a little different and not plan to submit questions. I feel like it would be helpful maybe for us to curate like an informal document together, maybe just over the week or two before in the SharePoint with questions or topics we're interested in. I'd be curious to know what you all are thinking going in, and I'm sure we can kind of build up each other. And maybe if it's helpful for the chief, we could give like a couple broad strokes of the types of topics we're hoping to discuss once we have that. But it seems great to have it be a little less formal than that and let the conversation kind of go where it will. I like that idea.
The idea behind the written questions, if I remember, is that we don't want a situation where we go into a meeting when we ask a question and somebody differs and says they are not prepared to answer the question because they didn't have time. So that's the idea behind having some written questions, so that you give the other person enough time to do their research and give you an informed answer. But like I'm proposing, the second half where it's open, then you can talk about anything. Then that gives you an opportunity to cover a lot of ground.
One thing that they did ask, was who we wanted to have present from BPD. So I can imagine like, if there's something where people have a lot of questions about data, then maybe having a person who is really fluent in that, versus if there are questions about training and use of force type of issues, where then we'd have, request some of those other members of the department to be present who are really experts in those specific areas.
I think part of the idea with the list was we all have burning questions, and so maybe 7 people have the exact same question, right? And then that can sort of filter some of that out, but also we want to make sure that we have enough time and space for everyone to at least ask their one burning question, that they want to ask from, the source. So that.
Yeah, no, I think, and I honestly don't want to be annoying, but I think that's great for a second meeting, but I have never met her. So I would love to have an opportunity to hear what is her expectation, like how can we build this relationship? I don't think maybe there is a relationship and I'm not aware of it, but that, might perfectly be a case. But I think we need to have a first interaction, and, then we can, I don't know what to ask if I have no basis. So I think maybe we can set the next meeting as a kind of presentation introduction type of thing, and we can hear from them. And maybe, because if you ask me like who should be in the room to respond, I have no idea. I don't know, and I don't know if I should know. Then if I should know, then I should go do my homework. But maybe we can get clarity on that. Like if you have a question about kind of taking what Victor said about bike theft, then we bring this person in. They are the one that can give you the answers. If you have a question about, I don't know, the cars or whatever specific thing, then this other person is the one to call. But I wouldn't know what to ask for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, we just talked about how important relationships are. And we don't have to wait 3 months for that. So maybe in the rescheduling within the next 30 to 45 days, we also let them know, hey, we really want to meet the chief one-on-one. This is important to us. We really don't care about the other 6 command staff right now. Maybe we will in the future. But we haven't heard her stories about the streets of Cincinnati and working in the river down there, and all her great thoughts on like police science, and right, like she has this whole different view that would definitely be helpful if you haven't heard that. And so I definitely agree with that.
So am I hearing correctly that for the next, that like initial meeting, we're looking for definitely the chief's presence, being able to hear from her about her thoughts, but still leaving time then for open, unscripted questions, even if the panel has some prepared in advance?
Yeah, and I would say if anybody, PSU might be good to join just because, that's another key component of our system. And there are a lot of people that haven't met them yet, I think, so.
I have a question in the Q&A that is along this topic, so I think that maybe we should answer this live because we're at the moment where we could probably talk about this. But there is a community member asking whether if Sterling can ask the chief to come meet with all of you, I guess for this first time meeting.
I can definitely ask her, but I'm not in charge of her schedule, so.
Yeah, so I will just say, we do have, as part of our agenda with the chief, we have set up like quarterly meetings with the chief, on our agenda. And so Sherry usually sets, those up, or she looked at me like, no, maybe not Sherry, but sort of helps us, set those meetings. So it's definitely on our schedule. It's going to happen. It happens every quarter. But this one was just postponed. And so it's just about setting something within the next 30 days. And then and we hadn't had one in a while because we were on moratorium. So they were also not doing our chief meetings because it wasn't part of the moratorium. So I think, let me know if that answers that question.
I think it does. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts or questions on meetings with the chief? Wonderful. Okay. Then we will move on to the IPM report.
All right. Okay, can people see the screen?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, as we have discussed, I was able to get this put into a more accessible version. So this was sent both to the panel SharePoint folder in advance and uploaded for public to be able to view. So I am just going to give a brief overview of more of the stats of what's happening, and then give people the chance to discuss some of the other cases. So the full file case reviews completed in November of 2023 were 0. There is one case file review completed and pending the police department disposition, and one case awaits panel review, and that is scheduled for next week. And regarding the statistics for the month of November in 2023, there were 0 cases that were classified. Therefore, 0 misconduct, 0 serious misconduct, 0 community inquiries. I observed 2 interviews, and I deemed 2 Boulder Police Department investigations thorough and complete, and 7 cases were closed by BPD in November, and the docket as of Monday is 9 cases. That is going to go up because PSU is pushing several cases forward for me to classify. So that is my case report. So this is obviously it's going to be open for, panel members' thoughts and comments on this process versus me reading the cases aloud. And
That one reason that we were specifically reading cases aloud was for accessibility reasons.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things to have them verbally spoken and not something that you have to read.
and that is why we made sure that the document that was posted online met the criteria within the programs for people who need audio assistance.
Wonderful. So they'll be able to like click it and it'll read it to them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I think I'm probably going to maybe play around, or I'm thinking about playing around with the format, just because when these cases go on multiple slides, I think adds confusion. So I might play around with the format, but these did meet the accessibility checks.
Awesome. And then that's on our website.
Yes, and it is currently, it's a little different, my understanding is, than some of the panels and boards and commissions, but in terms of where to find it. But that is something that when I talk to the communications department, they anticipate the other boards and commissions moving to the same system that we have for accessibility reasons.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Sherry.
And I don't know, does anyone have any questions or any comments they want to make about any of the cases? I don't see any, I can't see the entire panel. So, because I don't hear anyone, I'm going to assume the answer is no. I also do want to say in the, well, actually, how about I stop sharing my screen? Since the last meeting, I have been starting to try to do some outreach of my own. So I've met with a representative. I reached out to the NAACP and met with a representative from them. I also reached out to the University of Colorado Boulder police chief to make contact in case we have cases that involve joint response by CU, police, and BPD. And apparently there's a case that I need to review that actually does. So now I have some contacts over there. And I also reached out with the executive director of Boulder County NAMI. So I also have, this is sort of technical, but I'm really excited about it, news from the police department, which is they recently agreed to my recommendation that they begin entering all complaints into Axon immediately upon receiving those complaints. Currently, they register those complaints only after they've determined that it does in fact involve a Boulder Police Department member, and when they actually have enough preliminary information to begin their a preliminary investigation of those cases. So that was something that when I realized that's how the process went, I figured we needed to change that pretty quickly. So the police department agreed that beginning in January 1st of 2024, they will begin entering complaints as soon as they receive them, in which case I will have access to be able to view them from their inception. I think it's better for transparency, it's better for data and tracking of issues. In the meantime, we are working with Axon to figure out how exactly we will resolve these cases in the system if it turns out that, you know, it's a Boulder County Sheriff Office or a CU police officer, or we just don't have enough information about the situation and can't contact the complainant to get follow-up. So we're working on that, but regardless of where we are in that process, it's going to roll out the 1st of 2024. What this means is that we will expect that in 2024, the number of cases filed is going to be significantly higher. So that's something that I need to make sure to mention in the 2023 annual report, so that people who are paying attention to this will not be surprised when the number of complaints filed is significantly higher than it is for 2023 and preceding years. But like I said, I was very, very pleased that the police department acted on that recommendation as quickly as they did. Also, as I'm sure no one is surprised, a big task that's happening and is going to happen is the panel recruitment selection. So today was the final day for people to express interest in joining the advisory committee. We identified many organizations in the Boulder area to reach out to them. And then it's expected that by this Friday, Nuria will have selected the people who'll be on the advisory committee. And also on Friday, the applications for new panel members should go live. And that is between that application period is between December 15th and the 6th of January. And on Friday, I plan to send out to all of you the press release and links for the application so that you can share them within your networks for people who you think you might be interested in becoming panel members. And yeah, we expect to have those people selected by the middle of February. And I believe interviews are anticipated to take place on January 20th. Anyone have any questions or thoughts about panel recruitment?
So we already have our panelists that have volunteered to be on that selection committee, correct?
Some people have volunteered, yes. But like I said, it's expected that Nuria will have selected the selection or the advisory committee on Friday. So then everyone who is selected for that would or not should hear on Friday.
I believe in the past, the panel, am I remembering right? We voted to approve our representatives. I can't remember how that went.
I think it was just whoever had the time
Okay.
based on their committee assignments and everything else.
Okay, good. So we don't need to vote. Okay, wonderful.
And thank you, whoever is volunteering for that. I just thank you.
Definitely.
Sherry, I'd like to talk with you. I told you I would be willing to help get you acclimated within the community, whatever I can do to maybe help facilitate expanding your involvement. And the thing that immediately comes to mind is is having you come as a guest speaker or presenter at one of our meetings, at either the general membership meeting, which would be everybody within the NAACP, or maybe we could do both, the executive committee. We can talk offline and decide what you would prefer to do. That would be a way to hit a lot of bases at one time. And so we can talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I will support whatever I can do to help make that happen for you.
Okay, I appreciate that very much so.
Awesome.
And Selena, do you want to talk about meetings in person?
Yeah, sure. I guess there had been a conversation about potentially moving our all panel meetings for them to be in person. And I know that we had maybe something in mind of using council chambers. So I guess I just want to let you guys know that council chambers is actually booked for Wednesdays, specifically our Wednesday for all panel meetings, all for 2024. There is other rooms that we could use for, well, in Penfield Tate. But again, like Sherry mentioned earlier, there is very limited rooms outside of Penfield Tate, specifically like AV restrictions. Being able to, I guess, have this live is going to be very difficult in other areas. So I guess I just want to know like when we expect to, I mean, just kind of have an idea of like when we want to have these in-person meetings, if we want to, you know, have one month be in person and then the next month be hybrid. Just kind of have an idea of like what we want to do, so then I could reserve those rooms for you prior. It is a process that I have to do. And some of the rooms are already booked because you can book them a year in advance, but I just wanted to kind of have you guys keep in mind like what we want for the future, and if that's still an option, just to kind of let me know, so then I can do that for you guys as soon as possible.
So would the idea be not every meeting would be in person, but some sort of system of alternating? Or having some
think
hybrid?
That's up to the panel. I would just say that I think in-person meetings are better, but obviously less convenient for people and their other personal responsibilities and commutes and things like that. So I would say any meetings that we do have in person, that panel members really intend to attend them in person unless they are out of town or there's some very serious other commitment that prevents them from being there in person. Which is why I thought maybe every other meeting, remote in person might be the best way to balance like convenience versus the benefits we would get from being in the same room together.
Every other meeting, or perhaps quarterly in person? What are other thoughts on that?
I think quarterly would be more convenient, seeing as from the get-go, we're having challenges of getting a room that will have all the gear. So I don't know.
And then for the in-person, we would need to potentially move the day, right? Because Wednesdays are not available for Or just a different,
There-
not the city chambers?
Yeah, there are rooms that would hold us. I don't know, accommodate all of us. And those are available. There are some rooms available on Wednesdays. But I don't want us booking all, every single month if we only intend on using it, every other or quarterly as was suggested.
So the same meetings we're talking about in person. So if members of the public want to attend, they can attend. So that's something we have to factor in, right?
Yes. Absolutely. It sounded like a couple of people were thought that quarterly is the best way to proceed. Is that what the direction should be for me and Selena?
I'd like to see folks every month and get to know them, but we don't have that reality, right? But I'd like to shake hands and make some jokes. But what do other folks think who haven't spoken up yet?
I have some meetings that we do quarterly, and just like you said, Victor, you don't get to know one another, and some of those meetings are like so long, and I don't know. I like the idea of getting together as often as we can, just because of the work that we do. Kind of depends on us acting in community. Does that make sense?
Mhm. I'm so sorry. Can we provide some context? So are we wanting to have some meetings in person? That's kind of what we're thinking. Okay.
Yeah,
And
and we
then
can do
now-
it. We can do it monthly. We can do it every other month. We can do it quarterly.
Okay.
Or should Selena send out a poll asking monthly, quarterly, or every other month, if that's easier for people to think about it?
If we're meeting, are we meeting at this same time? From 6:30 to 8:30?
That, I believe, is what Selena had looked at, because that is the time that we're currently scheduled to meet. Again, this is something, if this time is no longer convenient to, the majority of the members of the panel, there's no reason that we have to, stick with a system that was decided 2 years ago.
And right now the meetings are on a Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah, and they were originally Thursdays, but we moved them to Wednesdays because of city council meetings were conflicting with the idea that eventually we would be meeting in person. And so the plan was for everything to line up in terms of what would be available, but I think, yeah, like Sherry said, we can make it adjust to what this group works best for us.
And online would still be a possibility, like it would be in person, but online in case people aren't able to make it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Usually back and forth to Denver on Wednesdays, as you guys have seen me in my car before. So I could make the beginnings, but then would have to leave.
Elon?
So yeah, I'm wondering if we could do, it's hybrid, right? So I'm just wondering, wouldn't it be easier to offer the possibility to be in person if we have that availability, and if not, then we take it online and do that every month, and who shows up, and everybody else shows up online, and it gives us the opportunity to be with at least some of us in person, and still have contact with everybody else, since it's going to be at the same time. The members of the public can also come or be online. I would just suggest that we do hybrid for, or at least we try it out for a few months and revisit.
I think hybrid's a great idea. But maybe, yeah, maybe we do want to send a poll in terms of frequency of in-person, so hybrid, monthly, every other month, or quarterly are the options. And then, do we want to take a poll again in terms of this time and date or day of the month for people?
I think just because I know we have some members of the community here and we are getting rounding in on 8:30, that this is, I think this discussion should get switched over to email and or polls. It should, because it's just logistics, I don't think there's any problem for this specific issue of having like a reply all email system. I don't think that, or the way that I've had it explained is that would not violate the open meetings laws because it's just logistics. Oh,
Perfect. And I did, so I think if that's all, then we can jump to public comment. There was one question in the chat, and I just kind of wanted to address. It looks like you weren't able to see our answer, and so we just wanted to clarify that if there was a complaint that's submitted and you're wondering the current status, you should receive an update from Sherry in terms of if that case has been, voted on. And then if there is a disposition, you will receive an update from Sherry on that. And if you have any questions, please do reach out to Sherry and she can give you the sort of the information in terms of where your complaint currently is. Okay. Perfect. So let me, is somebody able to share a time? Sorry, go ahead, Sterling.
I think that complaint was a complaint that was prior to the establishment of the panel, so I don't think it'll be able to be reviewed. It's from a few years ago.
Thank you.
Selena, can you let me share screen for the timer?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Sorry, I was taking notes. Okay. Alrighty.
All right, so we will go through the members of the public that are in our meeting, and you'll be called upon. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. And of course, panelists are free to respond. But quick short responses. We don't have too much time, but let's see. Okay, let's start at the top here. I have Lynn, you are able to unmute if you have a public comment you would like to share with us.
Yeah, I want to see you when I'm talking. Oh, well, just run out the clock, I suppose. I don't want to talk to a timer. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do that. Is that something on our settings or is that?
Usually someone puts it in one of the windows, the timer. I follow 9 city boards, city council, and 5 pop boards. And this is just like, doesn't work. Talking to a timer doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You don't want to hear what I have to say anyway, so.
I'm a little confused, Lynn. I'm sorry.
If we restart, I'll just keep the timer on my screen. If you want to stop sharing for this one, Selena, and I can just keep track on my screen.
And I'm sorry you can't see me. I know Madeline. Is that how you say your name? Or is it Madeline? I heard it said an unusual way.
So Lynn, we'll go ahead and start now with your 2 minutes. So,
I was just talking to Madeline. I've seen her and you can't see me. So it's not very much of a community here, is it? Madeline, you'd go, hi, and you'd hug me because you're very sweet.
Well,
but
hi.
You don't know who the heck I am because you can't see me.
Yeah, but we welcome what you have to say. And it is Madeline. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm completely traumatized. This isn't not gonna 2 minutes. I can't even begin to get into this. I'm concerned about Elijah McClain case, about Redfern, about my theft, about the 7th of September when I went and listened to 35 testimonies, and I've sent you tens and tens and tens of letters and haven't heard any word back from anyone. And I've sent to many people in the community and to all the boards and to the NAACP because of concerns from my case. After the September 7th council meeting, the very next week, I had a theft at the municipal building from a city employee from the children's department of the library. And they were not prosecuted. And Sherry tried to mediate with the person who was one of the perpetrators, the supervisor of the employee that stole my stuff. And she wanted to mediate with her. And even this perpetrator was upset with the police for how they handled the case. And I'm completely upset with how they handled this case. I've been completely traumatized from having my stuff stolen from me. I feel like I've been raped, beat, and kicked when I'm down. I'm 70 years old. I came down for a meeting with Nuria. Within 30 seconds that I got to the municipal building, I took my computer out of its bag, put it on the chair right next to me, and this person took it within 30 seconds. And a surveillance camera that I paid for with my tax dollars evidenced this. And he's not prosecuted. The DA wouldn't prosecute him. He invoked his Miranda rights in the middle of the police interview. I don't know how you're running this whole department, but I can see why why Daniel Leonard left, why Lisa Sweeney Moran, why I can see so many problems.
The 2 minutes are up for you.
And yeah, so I'm speechless. I'm just so upset. Just forget it. You don't care anyway.
Thank you. Would anyone like to respond from the panel?
I just want to acknowledge that we heard what Lynn had to share. And if there's any letter that we haven't seen, I'm happy to take a look. I at least myself, I haven't received anything, but I just want to express that we're hearing and we're listening. And I'm sorry, Lynn, that you were upset. I hope that there's some way that we can support you.
I'm with you, Soledad. With whatever we can do. I don't know what that is, but all we can do is try.
Yeah, I echo that. When sorry you're so upset.
Echoing the response of the panelists who speak, this is a complicated situation, and certainly everyone involved is very aware and feels feels Lynn's anguish over this situation. There is as she alluded to, there is another case that is going to be, it's still at PSU. So I have, so when there's going to be some time in the future, I don't know when it will be coming to the panel to take a vote on.
Thank you all. Okay, we will unmute, or we will move on to Michelle here. Let me give an option. Victor, do you want to screen share this one? So Michelle can see the timer. Okay, Michelle, you are able to unmute if you have any public comment for us today.
Hi, guys. I was just, I guess, wanting to reference what Sterling was saying. I'm not sure if he was talking about my case and my question about whether or not it was going to be reviewed, but in fact wanted to make it clear that my case was never reviewed by the panel before, and that in fact it was only investigated by Alistair McNiven, not once but twice, and it was never submitted during Joey Lipari's tenure with the police and the police as a police monitor until 3 weeks before he resigned. And at that point, it was submitted only to be documented, never to be investigated by the panel. So that was, yeah, my question was to get clarity as to whether or not things would be followed up. I know policies and procedures are changing, and I just wanted to inquire about that and about what Lynn said. Lynn, I was there that day, and it didn't in fact happen in the 30 seconds that you were there. And I know that you've been mishandled, or your property was, but it didn't exactly go down the way you're remembering it. And I do hope that you'll get justice, and I think everybody deserves to be heard. And thank you guys for all your work. It's not easy. And the police chief is a delightful lady, and I think if you guys get a chance to meet her, it'd be nice to be able to get on common ground. I just wanted to say those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, do we have any other thoughts or questions? I think maybe that I'm not sure about, maybe we can look into that particular case. Sherry, do you have access to like history of especially like Joey Lipari's cases that were opened or closed?
It's been a while since I looked into that specific case. So I'm a little reluctant to say something because I don't want to get the details wrong, but I know that he had made comments on the case and or had handled it in some ways, and that the police department, I think, reviewed it not just once, but then that I think due to Ms. Rodriguez's complaints, I believe it was opened up again for review, and that this is an ongoing concern of Ms. Rodriguez, and that it has been looked at multiple times by the police department at least. And I think Chief Harold looked at it specifically in response to some of these inquiries.
Okay, so it sounds like there may be more information, but we can have you guys connect and follow up on sort of, where the status is on All right, any other questions or thoughts, comments before we close out today? Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. Happy Wednesday, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Hadessa. Thanks for leading this meeting.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
And I'd like to say happy holidays for whatever people celebrate in the upcoming future.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.